Actually, I started in rentals. I've always been in the construction industry my whole professional life, but I actually bought a property to flip it myself. And then the next property I bought was a duplex conversion. That was kind of what I wanted to do next. And I just remember it was difficult. I so many inspections and this, and I struggled through it, truthfully. Now we've done probably 40, 50 duplex conversions. Then we progressed into ADUs, and kind of similar thing. You struggle through the first one or two. We kind of hone our process every time. And then now we're planning to do that on the next one. I don't like to say struggle through, but you do struggle through the first one. I don't want to sugarcoat it. You learn a ton. That's kind of what we're doing with the sixplex. Is there's a whole different rules on fire separation, on parking requirements, on all these different nuances. So we're just going to do it. The best way to get your feet wet is to get your feet wet. So we're jumping in. That's how we're going to get to the next step. And then I assume a couple years from now, I'll look back at sixplex and be like, oh, those are easy now. What's next?
What's up, everyone? Welcome back to On Site. We are on episode 11. Wow, it feels like episode 1 was not that long ago, and it was just recently posted, actually, not that long ago, and I had to adjust my lighting because I looked a little bit suspect, so I changed that, cleaned it up. But today we have a special guest. His name is Kevin. He's one of the contractors in the Elite Builder Society, and I am excited to have him on. Kevin specializes in a little bit different niched industry. He is in the ADU space, so he primarily builds out ADUs for homeowners and for investors, and I'm super excited about this conversation. Kevin, tell us a little bit about who you are, where you're from, and what you specialize in.
Perfect. Thanks for having me, Brandon. As you mentioned, my name is Kevin Boland. I'm the owner of King Street Construction. We started about 3.5 years ago now. We're based in Kitchener, Ontario. We service our local market. We like to stay kind of within a 30-minute radius. When we started out, we were doing renovations, duplex conversions, triplex conversions, and then our city recently allowed ADUs about 2.5 years ago. So we really saw a market for that, thought it fit well with our expertise, and we've been hammering that ever since, and it's been working well. So we're doubling down this year.
That's awesome, man. Well, I love seeing your content. Just to put that out there early on, we'll give you a little shout out towards the end. But if you're watching this now, you can just kind of pause it and go give Kevin's stuff a quick little search. Kevin, where can they find you on Instagram, just so they can see the great content that you're producing?
At King Street Construction.
We'll put the link right there. That's perfect. Awesome. Okay, so Kevin specializes in ADUs, and it's a unique industry. Kevin, I don't know if you're familiar. I've heard a little bit about the Vancouver market, how they're kind of going to a zero greenscape, almost a zero greenscape or zero green space building code, where they're allowing investors, homeowners, property owners to build out almost every square inch of their land. And not that that's happening where you are, but the ADUs where you are, you just passed, I saw on one of your stories that you passed a larger ADU. I know that was on a bigger property, but, in Vancouver, they got almost a zero greenscape or green space. Where you are, what is the unique parameters about how people are building? Because essentially an ADU is, for people that are listening, and I'll let you explain what this is, but it's, in a roundabout way, it's another house on your property, and could be habited by another family entirely. So tell us a little bit more about like the intricacies of how this all comes together in your local region.
So ADU stands for additional dwelling unit. Another term for this is tiny home, backyard home, granny flat. Basically, it's a typically detached structure in the backyard. A lot of times it's for multi-generational families. So our clients, they want to put their kids in the backyard. They want to put mom and dad in the backyard so they're close, they can watch them. Or we also work with investors who want an additional unit on their property and they're not paying for the land. So cost per unit makes a ton of sense for these. Each city's a little different in terms of what they allow, how big, where they can do them. Kitchener is our bread and butter. Basically, you can build up to 80 square meters, which is about 860 square feet is the maximum, or 15%, 1/5 of your lot, whatever's less. So if you have a 5,000 square foot lot, you can build 750 square feet. Whereas if you have over that, you can basically do the maximum, which is 860. And we did just get a minor variance approved for 1,000 square feet, which will be our biggest one to date. Kitchener, you have to have 30% soft landscaped area in your backyard still. So they're a little different from Vancouver. They still want to see grass or mulch or gardens somewhere. 30% of your backyard has to be made up of that. 20% of your front yard has to be soft landscape. So not driveway, not walkway. And one thing Kitchener's sticky on is a walkway. You have to have an unobstructed 1.1 meter path from the city sidewalk all the way to the front door of the ADU. It can't be around electrical meters, air conditioners. It can't be part of the driveway. And that's for emergency services. So they have to get a stretcher back there. They're not dodging around cars. They have a straight shot to the unit in the case of an emergency. And then a couple other little nuances, but that's the gist of it. They're allowed anywhere. Zoning doesn't really matter. They're actually allowed anywhere in Ontario now. But each city can put in their own bylaws and make it more restrictive, like Waterloo has done. They are very difficult. Kitchener is very ADU friendly.
Yeah. Well, and you're leading the game in that space, which is awesome. I love seeing all the creative developments that you're coming up with. I know you just are finished framing. I don't know what stage it's at, but there's a 2-story unit that you're working on. Even you explaining the different, accessible features that need to be included into it require actually a lot of planning and foresight. And so somebody that maybe isn't in the space, that's maybe just a generic contractor, might struggle with knowing all of these small little, elements that you need to incorporate. Is the city super, friendly with you, I guess, because you do specialize in this? Like, do they work with you on a lot of this stuff? And do you find yourself having to adjust maybe what the parameters or the allowances of the ADUs are and work directly with the city? Like, I know you just got that variance on that 1,000 square foot unit, but I'm sure from property to property, there's different things that just don't fit within the box, and you're probably finding yourself discussing that frequently. I would assume anyway.
Absolutely. That's part of it. It's part of the game is getting these permits issued. We've done a lot now. We have an awesome architect, which if you're planning to do one of these, find an architect who knows what they're doing, who knows the rules, because this is not just a basement reno. It's not a bathroom reno. There's a lot more nuances. You have to get zoning involved, planning involved, building, HVAC designer. Like, there's a lot more that goes into these. And kind of how we market ourselves is we have 3 different models: a 1-bed, a 2-bed, a 3-bed. They're pre-designed. They're not prefab. We don't prefab anything. We like to build on site in the same manner as a traditional house. So our 1-bed model is 425 square feet, 2-beds 850. And our 3-bed is actually, it's over 1,700 square feet of living space. So it's 860 up, 860 in the basement. You can actually do full basement Kitchener, which is pretty unique and pretty sweet. So we take one of our models. They work for 75% of our clients. We tweak them, add doors, move windows, move the location on the site. And that usually can work for most people. Or if we have to, we get into something custom, like that 2-unit ADU. That was custom. He didn't want a basement. He wanted main floor, second floor. We had the height allowance, which is also another thing that cities, they've started restricting. It's how tall you can actually build these, because they don't want.
How many? Sorry to interrupt with that. When you're talking about the 2-story one, is there 2 living quarters? Like, is there a living quarters up top and then a living quarters on the main?
Yep.
Oh, so they have 2 renters
separate units.
And does that one have a basement then as well?
No, that one's built on frost walls.
Could you build it on a basement and have a 3rd unit in the basement? You
couldn't do a 3rd unit because you're maxed out at 4 units per property. The main house is already a duplex.
Okay.
So 2 units in the main house. We're adding basically we're building a duplex in the backyard.
Yeah.
So that caps out at 4. You could, in theory, build a basement and it would just be part of the main floor. But you couldn't do a 5th unit at this time.
So with that specific project, that's obviously for an investor. What kind of revenue is that person generating from the project that you built? I mean, obviously the home itself is going to generate revenue in the duplex, but now they're investing in this duplex in the back. What kind of cost A is it to build something like that? And then B, what kind of revenue do you find that these investors are typically generating from these spaces?
It's a great question. That's by far the most common question we get. So that one's a little unique. That's fully custom. We designed that from the ground up. He really wanted it kind of like top end. It's really, really nice. That's going to be about $550 all in, $550 to $600, depending on kind of the appliances he picks, the floors, the final finishes. He should be able to get, I think, very safely $2,400 to $2,500 per unit.
Wow.
You're looking at $4,800 to $5,000. It's pretty safe, and they're going to be nice 2-bedroom units. So I think he'll get that all day long.
Wow. So he'll literally recoup his investment in no time.
Oh yeah. Kind of how we got in touch is he was looking at actually buying more property. He really likes the single family convert to a duplex. So you basically put an apartment in the basement.
Yeah.
But he's looking at those, you're going to buy one $650-ish, put, $150 to $170 in it to convert it. So he's over $800,000 for that. He's like, or I have this big backyard downtown I'm not doing anything with. build 2 brand new units, which are both way nicer than a basement apartment will be, for a couple $100,000 less. So the numbers just made a ton of sense for him. So that's kind of how this came to fruition.
Right. Because he could be essentially 1.2 mil in plus the dirt. If he was building 2 ADUs or 2 units, he'd be 1.2 with dirt, generating almost 10K in revenue off of one investment property, which is a great return. And so the limit is
maintenance is less. They're not rent controlled, which Ontario came with the rule end of 2019. Basically, if your unit was built after that, they're not rent controlled, which landlords like, because prior to that, as you know, rents just went crazy the last few years, and you can only increase 2-3% a year. Whereas this, they're not rent controlled. So if rents go crazy again, he's not restricted to the 2% rule, which he really likes.
So are the majority of your clients, would you say that the majority of them are investors? Because this seems like it's very much geared to an investor as your ideal client, because I mean that sounds like, as long as they've got the dirt, the locations, and the property size, and they can get 4 units on their property at a maximum, sounds very lucrative. It sounds like a great opportunity, great investment. So I would assume that most of your clients would be those type of people, because they should be just flocking to you with those kind of numbers.
Yeah, we're a mixture, and actually, truthfully, it's been more multi-generational families. Just because houses are so expensive, younger people can't afford to buy homes, so parents build one in their backyard for them, which is kind of our most common scenario. But we do work with a ton of investors. The ones that do it seem to like it. We have multiple repeat clients that they built one, they want to build another one with us because the math checks out.
Right. Yeah. Well, the math it's a no-brainer. I mean, when they're considering buying a property that needs 100K in renovations just to get the main floor up to par, and then you've got to throw another 150 in the basement, and then you've got to maintain all this land, this property, you're still not pulling your maximum capital out of the dirt. So for you to be able to lower the dirt maintenance, so to speak, and maximize the dirt's profit by throwing another piece of property on there that generates potentially the same, if not better, than the main property. I mean, it's a no-brainer. You would think that you would have people that are in the investment industry lining up. And I know that your numbers have significantly grown this year. What would you say has in 2025 been your number one source of marketing?
Instagram, hands down.
Instagram. Yeah. Well, I mean, you're also great on camera, and I think that adds a lot. But what do you think about Instagram? What do you physically think about Instagram that's really differentiating you? Because there's not a lot of is there a lot of people, I guess, in Hamilton that are niche down, specializing in ADUs like you, or are you kind of specialized in that space to the point where there's not a lot of people doing it?
No, in Kitchener, we're by far the most active online for sure. We basically started just over a year ago. I really like the visual aspect of this industry. Truthfully, you start, especially with ADUs, you start with an empty backyard. It's just a lawn. And, 3-4 months later, you have a fully detached, self-sufficient unit. So I really thought this would look good on camera. And I hired a media company to come out once a month. They do progress shots. We talk about ADUs, tidbits, how-tos, and just give the audience a bit more information. And we've just stuck with that consistently for about a year now. It's really started to pay off. And most of our clients are coming from Instagram right now. Referrals and Instagram for sure.
Well, for sure referrals, because you're going to get the clients that are generating this additional wealth. But then I talk about Instagram a lot and how it's really relevant and how you got to promote your business on there. And we kind of use this analogy where it's everybody wants all this fame and all, maybe not fame. Everybody wants the success, right? They want to win in business. They want to be successful in business. And in front of the success is work. And getting uncomfortable and posting content. I searched back, if you don't know, I searched back to the very beginning of your profile earlier on to take a look. Dude, I can remember my very first video. It was a long, long time ago. I was wearing this hideous bright blue shirt. I looked like a giant fucking Smurf. And I was so uncomfortable, and I posted it. And I got a bit of everything. I got people laughing at me. I got people, questioning me. And, I think that's the biggest barrier, in my opinion, for me. You're great on camera, so I know you've went through this transition. But there's a point where you understand that the work that you have to do doesn't involve what other people think, right? It doesn't involve what other people are formulating about opinions about what you're doing. There's a point where it shifts from like, what is this guy doing to look at what this guy's doing,
Yeah.
you know?
100%.
And what a lot of people struggle with is understanding that consistency is what really wins. I love that you do this every month. You bring this media company out to review your projects with you. And I think truthfully, like, I don't think you'd have the same success if you didn't put so much bandwidth or energy behind the social. I think it's really where a lot of companies fail. If I'm being completely honest. Like
especially in our industry.
There was this video that I watched. You know those Gantt charts where you like watch this reel, and I literally myself, I don't like social media. I don't like hanging out on it. I don't like surfing it. I don't like that. But I post on it because it's part of work, part of the job. But there was this Gantt on there that was kind of moving. You know how they have like those charts that like kind of move as time progresses? 20 or 30 years ago, everybody's attention was friends and family. 70% of their attention was friends and family. There was none of these things. There was no phones. There was dial phones. You remember those? My grandma had one in the basement. My grandma had one in her basement bedroom, the most random place ever to have a phone. I was so confused by it. I was like, if it rings, nobody can hear it because it's the furthest place away from anyone. But anyway, so yeah, 20 or 30 years ago, 70% of people's attention was focused on friends and family. And if you watch, there's like this progression. And it wasn't like slowly social media came in. It was like immediately, and I remember that time in business. I don't know the specific time, but let's say it's about 10 years ago. Okay. The phone book was still very relevant and it was connected to friends and family. So friends and family would connect with the phone book. They'd open the phone book. They'd look at this, 6-page pizza spread that guy spent 90 grand on to market his business, and you'd get, delicious pizza. And when I was marketing my business, I was like looking at it, I was like, I'm never going to spend what this guy just spent on pizza, to market his business. And so I get this little tiny section, crickets, nothing. And it's a lot of money. I was like, what a waste of money. Like, this is so ridiculous. And then, so I think Facebook came around at that point, and there was the, Mark Zuckerberg video, like the movie that came out around that time. That was right when I didn't have Facebook prior to that video. That was right when I got Facebook, was after that video. I remember it like pretty vividly. I was, in bed watching this video of Mark Zuckerberg creating Meta, or Facebook at the time. I was like, oh, it seems pretty cool. Like, I can be connected to everyone. And then at that point, my understanding of how the world is kind of being visualized changed. And that goes to kind of what we're talking about, how this is your number one form of marketing. 20, 30 years ago, it was friends and family. And then immediately it spiked into social. And so if you could get in front of 70% of your audience through social, and maybe you miss out on, 30% of your audience because they're a little harder to get to. Maybe they're not on social. Maybe they're still, checking the yellow pages. Maybe they're, in the newspaper. Maybe they don't have social, whatever it might be. I think the only way to really get in front of people, and I think you're doing this very, very well, is to go all in on it. You have to go all in on being the best at what you're doing. And that's what differentiates yourself, because now, just like the guy that spent 70 grand on a pizza centerfold, in the phone book, the guy that's not necessarily spending the most money, but is putting the most intention behind it online, I find is winning the greatest. And, you're a spitting image of what that would be. And so that's why I wanted everyone to kind of go check out Kevin's social. He does a very good job of promoting his business through the use of social. And so you're a great blueprint, I guess, so to speak, on if anybody wanted to market their business. Wouldn't matter. You don't even need to be doing ADUs. You could be doing bathroom renovations, basement renovations. You could be a roofer. You could be a drywaller. You could be a painter. You could be a heavy duty mechanic that's mobile. It doesn't really matter what you're doing. If you're trying to market your business, you're either going to get a little tiny thing in the yellow pages, or you're going to have to put yourself online, and you're going to have to get uncomfortable and make your first video. And so, yours was not bad. So I'm assuming you've deleted some other ones that were originally before.
It's super uncomfortable, to your point. I still don't like it. I think with contractors too, is everybody's busy on site. We're running jobs. We're dealing with subs. We're suppliers, customers. It's hard to find the time. But last year, I got very intentional. So at least once a month, I'm going to have them record. We can release it throughout the month. So every 2-3 days, they released a professionally edited video plus our stories. It's it's been hands down the best marketing tool for our business. I
That's
don't see it
awesome.
going anywhere. So
No, I think if anything, it's just going to get more crowded, similar to the pizza center flow in the phone book. The reason it got to that point was because there was lots of other pizza companies, right? And so they had to spend more money. In this case, we don't have to spend more money as entrepreneurs. We have to get more creative. And I think what we have to really, really focus on is making sure that we're aligning ourselves with the right people to help us produce the best version of ourselves so that our client can really understand, who we are and what we do. And I think it's awesome that you're doing that. I don't want to sit on this. If you're not on social media, I mean, you're obviously on it some way, shape, or form because you found us, but you need to do better. You need to do more at the end of the day. So I want to talk a little bit more about your clients and some of the projects that you've been able to work on. So you've been niched down and specialized building ADUs for how long again?
We've been doing them for about 2.5, I guess almost 3 years now. We've really focused. It's been about 1.5 years. End of 23, we made a decision. This is what we want to focus on. And that's what we've been focused on since then.
And so in that time, I'm curious if there's a project that stands out, good, bad. I'm not trying to go down the negative Nancy road here. This is the point of good, bad is lessons learned, maybe, and a client, good, bad, lessons learned. Same. I'm not trying to be negative Nancy here and throw anybody under the bus, but in this industry, especially when you're niching down into a specific industry, you're going to learn by paying to learn along the way. And so I'm curious if there was a project and a client that really stuck out in those 3 years of niching down into this industry.
I mean, the project that sticks out the most is the first one. Actually, my electrician referred us to this client. Same situation as the 2-unit one we're doing. He has a duplex, wanted to add another unit, did the numbers. And I ran that one basically at break even because I said, this is the space I want to get into. How do I learn? You learn by doing. So I said, if I want to do these, I got to do these. I was fine breaking even. And I was very transparent with this client. We'd done some other work for him, like some renovation work. So we knew kind of our quality and our communication standards. But I said, hey, this is the space we want to get into. Would love to work with you on this. And his name was Michael. He was fantastic. He actually came to us with the design and the permit in hand, which was kind of nice. Usually we take care of that, but he's a pretty well-versed investor. He's just been awesome to work with. I can post up some videos. It was our Chapel Street project, the first one we ever did. We learned a ton. The one thing I underestimated was the servicing work. Truthfully, I left it to the end of the project. Thought I would do it kind of right at the end. Thought it'd be a couple days. It's not. It's the hardest part, the messiest part. So now we do it up front every time. That's the first thing we do on site. We dig, we excavate our trenches, and then we run the services. We backfill, then it's done.
The
site's not a mess at the end.
Okay, so you did service on that project at the end? Like water, sewer at the end?
Yep.
So did you have it stubbed underground, or like what did you...
So basically I ran it all inside the foundation, stubbed it out under the footing, and just left like a plywood box with that hole exposed. And then at the end, I basically dug from that hole to the front lawn.
Right.
Yeah, don't recommend doing that, but it's just something we learned. It's good that we learned it. Truthfully, everybody was safe. Everybody was fine. It's inefficient. Makes the site way messier than we'd like, and get it done right away. So that's kind of the one that stands out because we learned so much on that one. Every one we learned a ton. This one on Wellington we're doing now, the 2-unit, I think will be the nicest one we've ever done.
It looks great.
Yeah.
It's got a little pergola. Doesn't it have like a little pergola off to one side?
It's like a covered porch for both units. That's going to be our nicest one to date. A lot of these, truthfully, they're a box. They're a rectangular box. It's for people to put their parents in or their kids. They want it as cost effective as they can get it. So it's a rectangle. They're really nice. They're just, I'll call them sometimes basic. Whereas this one's like,
dude, I don't think they're basic at all. If you go check out a lot of his content, he's cutting himself short a little bit. These things are pretty top notch. Like they're better than some of your new builds that you can purchase out there in these newer developments. So I mean, I think they're pretty creative, and I like that you're you work with your client to help them kind of create something unique to them if they want that. Sometimes it's about dollars and cents, right? And they just like, well, this is our budget, this is how much it spends. We can monetize that over the next X amount of years, so we understand what the calculation or conversion looks like. They don't want to spend money on granite. They don't want to spend money on upgraded cabinets. But I have seen some of yours, and there are some nice ones where there's some nice barn doors, some nice unique finishes, and so I think that stuff is really what again sets them apart. So that's your
try to be one step above builder grade. So we do we always do quartz counters are standard, the nice 5.5-inch baseboards, just little things like that. They're not significantly more, but they just it's such a nicer finish. It's way more durable over long term. Laminate counters just don't hold up, I find, like quartz does. So little things like that, they go a long way. And that's kind of why we came with these models, is to give people a starting point for price. Some people just have no idea. I've had all sorts of inquiries. I've got a 50 grand budget, or some people say, hey, I've got $500,000. So you just get people just don't know. So that's why we came up with these models as a starting point.
To educate as well. Yeah. At 50 grand, you could get them a shed, like a small, 10 by 10 shed with a bunkhouse.
I've had people say that. Oh, it's just a shed, right? Well, with a kitchen and a laundry and a bathroom and a bedroom and heat and AC and it's a full house. They're just smaller.
Full running water and sewer. No, it's a glorified shed. No, these are small. These are small, if not even really. These are houses that are extended into the footprint of the property. Okay, so that's your first project is the most memorable because you learned the most, and that's great. That means that you're a person who doesn't have their ego in front of them and can take the lessons as they come to them, which is great. I think that's important with anybody who's trying to grow in this industry. A lot of the guys who struggle, in my opinion, are the ones who are just stuck looking at themselves and blaming everybody else about how things aren't working. So it's great that you took ownership on the things that you could have done differently, because that allows you to move forward faster with resolutions versus sitting there blaming everyone else for things not working. So it's great that you're, even maybe you didn't even notice that's what's happening. But in my opinion, that's kind of probably one of your superpowers, is that you're able to take accountability with things as you need to move forward, which is great and important in this industry. The next thing is clients. I have worked and impacted a lot of people's lives in my industry, but you're taking, and I'm just curious who this person is, but this is how I would perceive it. Let's just say that you've got our economy is really hard to live in. If I'm being really honest, it's challenging. Canada is super expensive, which is crazy because we have so much land. Seems like we could do so much better, but I'm not a politician and that's not my space. So we just live here. But I'm curious about, a story from a client. The ones that hit me the most in my time in this industry were the ones that I impacted their future by change, and so what you're doing is unique. You're giving either, kids of parents a safe place for their kids to live, or the alternative, a safe place for their parents to live, to stay close. And so there's probably one, I would assume that, is close to you that, you really impacted somebody's life. And I'd just love to hear about that.
Yeah. I mean, there's a few, one that really stands out recently, Project Summit. It's all over our socials. Kind of situation there. Mother is elderly. She's actually in great shape, but the daughter has an issue with her knee, so she can't walk very well, or can't do stairs anymore. So they had a 2-story house in Guelph. And they came to us via lawn sign. Actually, we did one of their neighbors and wanted to build a unit for the daughter in the backyard. And one level, easy, wants to be close to mom. So we did that. We wrapped it up earlier this year, actually. And she just absolutely loves it. I went in there the one day. They're just sitting on their couch with their dog. And it's just the best feeling, seeing somebody in their new home that you built for them, that was done properly, is going to last. And now she doesn't have any mobility issues. She can get in and out, do a nice seamless walk-in shower for her, no bathtub. Just little things like that to make her life easier and better. And they're just fantastic to deal with. They paid before I even issued invoices. Hey, I got the check ready. When are you coming by? Pick things right away. Amazing. They trusted our opinion, our judgment, and they're fantastic. And it just makes us want to go the extra mile for them when they're that great to deal with. It really does.
That's an awesome story. It reminds me of we worked on a nonprofit, and I don't know if I shared this with you, but worked on this family's home, and their daughter needed an accessible bathroom, and even maybe you haven't thought about this, but what I thought about after doing the work and coming back a few years later was the impact that life change really has on a person. How it deals with your psychological, perceptions of things that are going around you, your confidence, all these things change. And so for this girl that's living in this space, now she has her own space. She never had her own space. Like, how old was this girl? How old was she?
She's 40, early 40s.
Never had her own space.
Yeah.
Like, that's life changing, to have your own place where you can, have a shower or have a bath and just know that you're in your own place, nobody else's place, or, just enjoy the things that I think a lot of people take for granted. We get so comfortable in our current living arrangement that it just becomes second nature. But for this girl, probably independence, and her own personal space was the most important thing. And I guarantee you that you go back to, when did you do that job? That was just recent, you said.
We started in the fall. We finished it up end of February.
I promise you, go back to that person and revisit with them for the next couple of years, like once a year. Their health will change. A lot of things will change for the good, because they get a little bit more of their life back. They're living this different independent life, and I think that's what's super cool about these units that you're building in those circumstances that aren't investment properties, where either the family can take care of the kids, or the kids can take care of the parents, or you can have aunts and uncles and different people there. Family, like we talked about at the beginning of the call, originally was the majority of how people spent their time. Now, social uniquely found a way to connect family back together and make ways for people to spend more time together. They're not spending it together specifically, but they're in close proximity. So I think that's super awesome, man. I'm happy for you that you're doing this, and I'm happy that you enjoy it. I know that you're really passionate about it. You can see that in your content. And what's coming up for King Street? What do you guys got coming up? Any big projects? Any big news? What do you got? Is it any top secret?
It's going to be our biggest year by far. We got a bunch of ADUs coming up. We've already got a bunch out of the ground. Got 4 or 5 more coming up this year. We've also got a 6-plex new build, which is kind of a new space for us. We're excited about. An investor client came to us. Actually, their house burnt down. They had tenants in there. Burnt, essentially, it was a tear down. Was going to sell the land, and then we got connected, decided, hey, why don't we build this? City allowed it. So it's basically 2 triplexes, semi-triplexes, so 3 and 3, 6 brand new units. So we're in for permit on that. We should be starting that probably August, realistically. We're also hired as construction managers on a 10-unit build for a developer out of Toronto. He's got a property in Kitchener that we're working on as well. So we're getting into the bigger multifamilies, which is great, which is what we want, especially after seeing ADUs. The biggest thing about building new is what I love is rentals, you're always tying into old stuff. You're taking out walls, you're finding old plumbing that needs to be repaired. We've seen joists just hacked out. You don't deal with any of that with new. It's 100% your responsibility, which I love. You build it from the ground up. You know it's done properly. And that's kind of the direction we want to go. The ADUs were the first step of the new builds, and we're going to continue to do those. We're very good at it. We've kind of been known for that. And then now we're going to take that next step into 6-plex, 10-plex, and see where it goes from there.
Dude, so there's a couple things that I want to spin off of that, because I don't think people that are listening understand the magnitude of your growth, over the past couple of years. And a lot of contractors, even some of the ones that we're coaching, or that I'm coaching, want this growth, right? They want all of this shit around them. and they're just not willing to open the doors. Through this journey, I'm sure in the last, couple months and in the last couple of years, you've probably faced a door that is very fucking scary, that you need to open and enter into. When you talked about renovations, and you step in, you probably think back to like when you were called up to do a bathroom, right? And the client calls you and they're like, hey, I'd like you to do my bathroom. And you get excited. And you got these butterflies. You're like, oh, I got a project. I got this little $15,000 project. And you go there and you put the same attention and all the detail that you've put into all these larger projects, put into this smaller project. And at some point you had to open the next door, which was like, okay, we need something bigger. Tell us just a little bit about that journey for you, like what that felt like for you, because everybody wants all this shit that you're talking about that you got in the last couple of years, but what did it actually take for you to get there?
It's been a journey. Actually, I started in rentals. I've always been in the construction industry my whole professional life, but I actually bought a property to flip it myself. And then the next property I bought was a duplex conversion. That was kind of what I wanted to do next. And I just remember it was difficult. So many inspections and this, and I struggled through it, truthfully. Now we've done probably 40, 50 duplex conversions. And then we progressed in ADUs and kind of similar thing. You struggle through the first one or two. We kind of hone our process every time. And then now we're planning to do that on the next one. I don't like to say struggle through, but you do struggle through the first one. I don't want to sugarcoat it. You learn a ton. That's kind of what we're doing with the sixplex is there's a whole different rules on fire separation, on parking requirements, on all these different nuances. So we're just going to do it. The best way to get your feet wet is to get your feet wet. So we're jumping in. That's how we're going to get to the next step. And then I assume a couple years from now, I'll look back at sixplex and be like, oh, those are easy now. What's next? And then it's just cool to see from like a basic single family to a duplex. Now we're doing it in a 10plex new builds. It's been a cool journey for sure.
That's awesome, man. I love watching the journey. I love hearing about it. And I love the content. And so to give you guys kind of a refresh on what this conversation was like and what this journey for Kevin and his business has been like. He started as just a regular contractor like the rest of us, that are trying to make it to somewhere, trying to do something big. Kevin picked an industry, specialized in it, niched down, and he got really fucking good at it. He focused on being the best version of himself in that industry. And then he used the power of social media to market his business, which got him in front of more people to show that, hey, I'm doing this. You want some of this? He also had a great product. Like when you talk about what the investor opportunity looks like, people want to buy into that stuff. You're not hard selling what you're trying to offer. It's like, what's a hard offer? There's people that have these really niched industries and are trying to sell people things that they don't want or don't need or doesn't, financially make sense. Those businesses suck. If you're trying to get into a business that people don't want to buy it, it's too much money and it's hard to sell, it's a bad business. Drop it. Kevin picked a big business, big industry, ADUs, which is a home, marketed aggressively on social media, and now he's operating on like you're a surgeon. I mean, kind of are, I guess, in a roundabout way, but now you're operating on a 10plex, which is coming up, and I'm excited to see that. One more time, if you are wanting to follow along with Kevin's journey, you can follow him on Instagram at we'll put it up right here. One sec. There we go. Give Kevin a follow there at King Street Construction on Instagram. And if you're looking at entering into the ADU market outside of his location, I'm sure you can drop him a DM. He'll give you a little bit of insight on what you can do to incorporate this into your business. Kevin, I appreciate our conversation today. It's a good different perspective than our coaching calls. And I learned a little bit more about you too, which is wild because we've been working together for almost 6 months here, and some of the things I didn't learn about you, we got to discuss today, which is awesome for me too. So appreciate all of you tuning in. Make sure to like, share, and comment on this. And if you're watching this on YouTube, hit the subscribe button and share it out as well. I appreciate you. Episode 11. It's crazy. You should have saw it. You'll be able to listen to episode 1. It was horrific.
Gotta struggle through it, right?
Gotta struggle through it, man. Hey, you know what? Episode 100 will look nothing like episode 1. Yeah. And this is what it's like. Get uncomfortable, put yourself in uncomfortable positions, and you'll change your life and your business, guaranteed. Thank you so much, Kevin. And thank you to everybody who's watching this. Until the next one.
Brandon, thank you as always. It's a pleasure.